There is reason for optimism tonight in the fight against several fires burning along Colorado's Front Range.
Firefighters are finally starting to make some progress on fires that have been burning uncontained for days. Kyle Clark joining us from Jefferson County tonight, where day 3 is coming to a close on fighting the Quarry fire. Kyle.
Alex, neighbors cheered the firefighters coming off the lines tonight, and there's a lot to cheer about because the Quarry fire in Jefferson County southwest of C-470 in Kipling looks nowhere near as threatening as it did this time last night. Double the number of firefighters on the ground helps. So does an unrelenting aerial attack on this fire from sunup to sundown. We can give you a look at what the fire looks like tonight versus what it looked like last night. And it is striking. Look at the lack of hot spots tonight on that hill above the Deer Creek Mesa subdivision. That was the first neighborhood evacuated, is the one closest to this fire. Last night versus tonight. And the enormous smoke plume that was seen across the metro area, that was knocked by mid-afternoon. Hoping for a really good update here tomorrow morning. Now up north at the Alexander Mountain Fire in Larimer County, firefighters are gaining a bit of ground on what is the largest wildfire burning in Colorado right now. This area burning in the hills west of Loveland did pass the 8,000 acre mark today. It's a lot of public land, a lot of forest land. Firefighters announced mid-afternoon that they have lost buildings in the Drake area, dozens of them, and some of those buildings are homes. 9 News reporter Rachel Krause is up in Larimer County for us tonight. And Rachel, damage assessment teams will go in on the ground tomorrow for a more detailed look at what was lost.
Yeah, and Kyle, more than 5,000 people are under a mandatory evacuation waiting for answers about their homes while that fire still burns out here tonight. Now, those under evacuation include a popular dude ranch and the horses that live there.
And it's stressful because you never know what's coming your way.
It's been a chaotic few days for Josh Shardulo. He leases the land where he raises cattle from Sylvandale Ranch nearby. But this week, the animals grazing off the grass have increased.
While I don't know all their names, all of these horses belong to Sylvandale Ranch, which is a dude ranch.
These horses needed a safe place to stay when the Alexander Mountain fire sparked up on Monday.
We had to evacuate the main ranch because they're under mandatory evacuation orders, and they had the horses staged. They had a lot of volunteers with trailers waiting to help out.
50 horses needed to move, and fast. 2 horses were hurt in the transfer when the trailers broke. Thankfully, after fast vet care and surgery, they're both now healing. But Shardulo worries Sylvandale Ranch is right in the fire's path.
And then unfortunately, they've lost quite a bit of property up in Cedar Park, up where they have their historic cow camp. It's an old logging cabin that people will do overnight stays at. So I think they might have lost that as well.
Now with the Alexander Mountain fire burning nearby at 8,000 acres and crews still working to bring it under control, there's little they can do now. But wait.
Things can change in a hurry. So we have our cattle here. They're staged and ready to go. We have trucks and trailers, for our cattle, everything set up. And then we have another property over by Devil's Backbone that's ready to go if need be. So we really are just kind of, standing by, waiting to see what happens and hoping that the fire kind of stays put and they can get a handle on it.
Shardulo says this isn't their first time navigating evacuations, but they're never easy. Sylvandale Ranch was right in the path of the Cameron Peak fire back in 2012. They're hopeful that the Alexander Mountains fire path won't turn so crews can get it put out and soon. Reporting live near Loveland, Rachel Krause, 9 News.
A lot of us remember those scary moments for Sylvandale back then. Rachel, thank you very much. So it really has been the aerial firefight that has been the crowd pleaser here in Jefferson County for a couple of days. People gather on this hilltop overlooking the fire to watch them work. And they got to see Colorado's Firehawk in action, that $26 million converted military Black Hawk. That was out here, filling its 1,000-gallon tank at Chatfield and at a closer reservoir. There's a smaller Bell 205 that's using the small man reservoir close to the Quarry fire. It does 300-gallon drops versus the 1,000 on the Firehawk, but it can do them really quickly. There's a Sikorsky S64 a sky crane here. That big orange beast is wild. They can put 2,650 gallons of that in at a time, and it was just going back and forth. It thunders because it's such a powerful aircraft. And there are 3 Super Scooper planes at work here. They go to Chatfield. It's an amphibious plane. It scoots over the water and fills up its belly, then comes and does a drop. There were 3 of them all working together. All the while there was a Cessna Citation that was way up high that was kind of supervising that aerial firefight. It was something to watch in close proximity. Our Ria Jai spent the day with evacuees who, if they weren't watching what was going on at the fire line, were trying to figure out how they're just going to get through the next couple of days of uncertainty. Ria?
Right, Kyle. These evacuees said they had 15 minutes to leave their houses, and they didn't think they were going to be gone longer than a day. Now, that was 2 nights ago. Meanwhile, Jeffco officials are now saying they're nowhere near lifting those mandatory evacuations.
I looked out the window and saw smoke.
In the middle of the night, Doug and Terry Eidecker ran out of their house with just the clothes on their back.
When I answered the door and the sheriff said, "We're going door to door, we're evacuating the neighborhood, we want you out in 15 minutes. You really don't have time to think about much.
The Quarry fire was burning less than a quarter mile away from their home in the White Deer Valley neighborhood. We spoke with them that night at the evacuation center.
I grabbed my laptop and my phone, and that was about it.
Now,
Well, pretty much. I'm still in the same jeans.
I'm still in the same skirt.
they're one of nearly 600 homes evacuated that night.
We've spent the last 2 nights in a hotel room, hoping that we were going to be able to get back in.
And they weren't so lucky today.
Unless it's life essential medicine, they're not letting anybody in yet.
So now as days go by, we're feeling a need for some things.
Isn't that funny, the one thing I grabbed?
Unfortunately, Doug's cowboy hat isn't going to get him through this evacuation.
We're headed to Kohl's.
To do some shopping for necessities. It's just stuff. And the most important thing for us is that people are safe and protected.
They're safe, and they know it's thanks to first responders on the ground fighting this day in and day out.
I can't even imagine, and it just makes me appreciate them more than you know.
Yeah, it's just about tremendous gratefulness for those people.
The Eidekers aren't sure when they'll get to go home,
So we'll just wait it out, and whenever it's time to go, we'll go.
but they do know that blue jeans were not the move.
I just want to get out of these blue jeans. They're so hot I can't hardly stand it.
The Eidekers are in contact with neighbors who are in the area, and they said that their homes are safe and the fire is moving in a different direction. The Eidekers also have family in the area that they can now stay with. They said that that's where they headed after our trip to Kohl's. Reporting live in Jeffco, Ria Jha, 9 News.
Tremendous perspective from them, Ria. Thank you very much. So that family is in the Deer Creek Mesa subdivision, which is kind of they're on the southwest side of this fire, and it is the northwest side of the Quarry fire going up towards 285 that's been the most active here in the last 24 hours. Here's why people are feeling very relieved around here tonight. The smoke plume is gone. We don't see it in a lot of new active fuels. That was constant for the first 2 days of this fire. And at one point we were thinking, well, is it a trick of the wind? Are the winds blowing east to west and we just can't see the smoke plume because it's being pushed west up into the foothills? But there was never any wind like that happening today. So folks here are really, really hopeful that firefighters got great progress on this and that it'll have a quiet night. And Kim and Alex, 7:30 briefing tomorrow morning, they hope will include more optimism.
Day. For a little while this afternoon, I think there was some big concerns, but that's encouraging.
Yeah, I apologize. I need to touch on the fires in Boulder County. There's good news there. Fire there, little growth on that fire. More evacuations were lifted, more people able to go home. There's 30% containment. That's up from 20% last night. There are 1,553 acres burned so far, 5 homes destroyed. Sadly, there are the 3 major fires that we've seen in Colorado's Front Range this week. 1 life lost, and it was in one of those homes north of Lyons. That person has not been publicly identified. There was a small fire yesterday that was a big deal for a couple of hours. It did burn a home, but then was quickly taken care of near Gross Reservoir in Boulder County. That was the Lakeshore fire. All the evacuations and the road closures are lifted. They're just mopping up hot spots there. In all, it was 7 acres and the loss of 1 home there. So Kim and Alex, great optimism in Boulder County, more cautious optimism here in Jefferson County, and then for Larimer County, a longer road ahead, right? That's an 8,000 acre fire. It's in a lot of open land with a lot of fuel, and we know that at least in the Drake area, there were pretty significant losses, and we'll find out more about that tomorrow when those damage teams go in.
Yeah, we're a long ways from finding out all the details about who lost what there. So we'll get there, and then we'll start talking about causes. So a lot more to learn. Thank you, Kyle.